Hello there, welcome to Varsity Sports Live. Tom Neiman along with Jason Andera and Jody Norstedt standing by in Fargo, North Dakota. It's playoff time in high school football, Jandy. It is now. We just finished up the regular season for the big schools in both states.
Yeah, all across the Dakotas, people are in playoff mindset. Some teams have already gotten into those playoffs. Last night was crazy in South Dakota trying to decide who was in, who was out, who would get what seeds. And we're going to get into all of that later in the show. But Wednesday night in North Dakota, things got a little crazy too. They didn't know how things would end up going into Wednesday, did they, Jody?
Yeah, I mean, the West, we knew the four teams. Bismarck was obviously going to be the number one. Century, likely the two, but Legacy still had an outside shot if they could beat Century and if Mandan would lose to Williston. And then the East, we had three different scenarios. Cheyenne, the easiest one. Cheyenne wins. They get the 1. Davies the 2. South the 3. But South in Davies could also make it interesting. So let's take a look at the highlights. The Mustangs hype, knowing what's at stake. A bad sight for Bruins fans. Danny Lahai's leg in a brace. The EDC's leading rusher is likely done for the year. Cheyenne was locked in from the coin toss. Nathan Goldaddy on the third play from scrimmage sheds tacklers right in front of the Bruins sidelines, runs past our camera 81 yards, and they're up 7-0. The first quarter, the Bruins couldn't have gone much worse. Tyler Terhark picks off Wyatt Hansen, and the Mustangs are back in business. Terhark had 3 interceptions on the evening. Parker Sander finds Barika Kinu for his first of 2 touchdowns on the evening, and the Mustangs are up 13 after the missed PAT. Things went from bad to worse for the Bruins. Sibumana Enoch takes the handoff and gets popped. The ball comes loose. Mustangs recover. On the next play, it's Sander to one of his favorite targets, Terhark. Both guys come down with it, but possession stays with the Mustangs. Still 4 minutes left in the first when Sander finds Brock Hesdalen, and it's 20-rip Mustangs. This one getting out of hand early. The Bruins desperately needing something to go right, and it doesn't. Hesdalen doing it on defense as well. Picks off the pass, wash, rinse, repeat. Goldaddy takes the pitch, gets to the corner. It's 27-0 Mustangs before the first quarter even expired. Goldaddy is the first running back in the state over 1,000 yards rushing on the year. He finished with 213 on the night. The Mustangs win their first EDC title. I think Jandy's going to be doing this to Tom afterward with his water bottle. Jeremy Newton getting the victory bath. All in all, this game had 11 turnovers combined between the two. The Mustangs go on to win it in dominant fashion, 47-7. They'll be the 1 seed and can make the Dakota Bowl without leaving home. A pretty good feeling for the young men that earned it.
It's awesome. I can just feel the energy on the sideline. We're so excited. We're all as one team, and we're just so happy to be the first EDC champions.
These final 8 teams, we know they're the real deal, and I think we just got to come to every single game thinking, hey, it's going to be a fun one, and we got to go out, play our game, play hard, and see what happens.
It's a great thing for the program. I think the kids deserved it. They've worked their butt off all year, and they really had a focus on this point. And to get here and actually accomplish it is an amazing feat. It's a big thing for us to make sure we take care of business, and next week get out there and try to do the best against a good football team.
Well, last year's state champ, West Fargo, hoping to end a disappointing year by sending Davies into the postseason with a loss. The passing game has had to carry the load for the Packers this year, and it helps them throw the first punch. Cooper Sully going for it all on 4th down. Boy, sophomore Carter Baronkov with a nice touchdown catch. 8-0 West Fargo. It takes less than a minute for Davies to answer. Jesse Forknell, the tie Satter, and Stride, the junior, has serious wheels. 55-yard touchdown. The EDC's leading receiver makes it 7 touchdown catches on the year. Then he forces a fumble. Second straight game he's done that. Isaac Balvich makes it sting even more with the touchdown run. His 7th of the year makes it 14-8 visitors. To the second quarter, Packers sophomore Declan Genova. Watch him dance to the end zone. That tied things at 14. But back comes Davies, scoring on the ground with Cameron Rowe. The Eagles hoping their improved run game will help in the postseason. They'll be the number 2 seed. West Fargo not making things easy on the Eagles, though. Just before half, Sully to freshman Carson Hagerly. Take another look. The future is bright for number 16. The catch, unbelievable. The Packers narrow the gap to just 1 point at halftime, 21-20. Second half, blocked punt for Davies. Jacob Martindam blocks it, scoops and scores. It's 28-20 Davies. Later in the game, Eagles up 15. Sully trying to lead another scoring drive to come back, but it's picked off by, you guessed it, Mr. Satter. I told you, he's doing it all. Balvich puts the exclamation point on the win. He goes rumbling 39 yards for the score. Great stiff arm to boot. It's 42-20 just like that. Cool moment in the final minutes, though. The Packers mishandle a snap. Senior Juve Carodi picks it up, and watch him run. 61 yards for the touchdown. Not the season West Fargo fans had in mind, but that's a fun way to finish it for the senior. As for the scoreboard, well, that wasn't so fun. That read 42-28 Davies. The Eagles earned the number 2 seed and a home playoff game, their first since 2014.
We knew it coming in. They were a real talented football team. They're a lot better than their record. They played in a lot of close games. We knew we had to come out, just playing our best football.
On the field, it's just big to get turnovers, and I know I know my teammates are counting on me to make plays, and I know they have my back, so I just got to go out there and be aggressive. Playing at home, having our fans there cheering us on, and I feel like that's a big part of a playoff game, and we don't have to travel obviously, so I think it's a big deal staying home and don't have to go on a bus for 3 hours.
Seeding still up for grabs in the West going into Wednesday night. Legacy still had a shot at the 2 seed if they could beat Century and get some help from Williston over Mandan. Neither one of those turned out very good. The Patriot defensive line going to work. Future Fighting Hawk Tanner Thorsness with a sack of Keegan Woodbury. You had a few of those on the night. Grant Anderson, the speedy back in Century's Thunder and Lightning combo. 19-yard score makes it 14-zip, red, white, and blue. The quarterback, Cade Feeney, we've seen this plenty of times. Maybe not from this distance, though. Check out the speed from number 10. Slips a tackle, scores on the 51-yard touchdown run. He's scored 10 times on the ground this year. He's all smiles, and here's why. Feeney looking for the quick 6 to Skylar Reidinger. That pass on the money. The Patriots are in control, leading 28-zip. Ron Wingenbach showing his QB some appreciation on the sidelines. They need that passing game to improve, and it passed the test on this night. Reidinger hauls in another one. He stopped just shy of the end zone. They'd eventually score on another touchdown. The Patriots win easily, 42-0. They lock up the 2 seed and feel they've grown a lot from week 1 to now.
First game was a rough game for our offense, and we knew that that wasn't going to be us for the whole year. We knew that we were going to keep getting better and better throughout this year.
So Fargo North already with the 4 seed secured. Finished the regular season against Central, a playoff tune-up, I guess you could say, before they head to Demon Country to face number 1 Bismarck. Starting off the scoring for the Spartans, Jeremy McIntyre, 20 yards for the score. North jumped out to a 14-0 lead, but maybe they got too comfortable. With time winding down in the first quarter, Jackson Lorenz tosses it up for grabs, and check out the catch. Jack Anderson shakes a defender on his way to scoring Central's first TD of the night. The lead is cut in half. After stopping the Spartans, Central pulls some trickery as Austin Braun takes the pitch, throws it to Everett Peterson in the end zone. Can't hold anything back now, I guess. Tie game, 14-all at the break. These fans hoping to celebrate the night's first EDC win, but second half, different story. Caleb Friddle throws a bomb to Austin Sparrow. The Sparrow swoops over the defender, and he's gone. What a play that was. The Spartans are back on top by 7. Head coach Adam Rollins must have lifted a fire under them. In the fourth quarter, Friddle said he's tired of throwing the ball, so he ends up running it 15 yards into the end zone. That one locks it up for the Spartans, who end up winning 34-14. So after starting the year 1-4, North rattles off 4 straight wins and gets a little confidence boost heading into the postseason.
It's kind of an emotional game, obviously first half we had some up and down moments, but second half we came out ready to play and we put it away. Definitely generate some momentum going into the game next week. Obviously it was important to come out second half, put points up on the board and keep them shut out.
So here's a look at the playoff bracket. Legacy is going to head to Cheyenne, the only rematch from the regular season in this opening round. The Mustangs beat the Sabres by 40 earlier this year. Meanwhile, Century gets a banged-up Fargo South team. We saw Danny Lahai not going to be playing in that game. The undefeated and top-ranked Bismarck Demons host the North team that you just saw on Friday, and perhaps the best matchup of the quarterfinal round. Mandan travels to Davies. Mandan's wide receiver Elijah Klein, 6'7", 200 pounds, just went over 1,000 receiving yards, the first Brave to ever do that. That's going to be a good matchup against Davies, the first meeting ever between the 2 programs, believe it or not. We had one Class 2A game on Wednesday. Defending state champ St. Mary's taking on Turtle Mountain. The Saints with a 2 seed and a first-round bye locked up. The Braves fighting for a playoff spot. They had as much luck grabbing that, though, as they did Cullen Curl on this 39-yard touchdown run. St. Mary's up 7-0 going into the second. The Saints were focused on shutting down a dangerous rusher in Levi LaFountain, so Keeson Peltier had to make some plays with his feet, and he did. Nice run, sets up the Braves' first touchdown of the game. Peltier to Diego Samuelson. Diego with a delightful grab. How about that one over the head? It's a beauty. The Saints' lead is trimmed to 10-6, but the two-time defending champs start to find a rhythm. Drew Dosh finds Holton Bradley. This is a long gain down the sideline. Dosh would score on the ground to make it 17-7. Peltier trying to answer right back through the air, but check out this one-handed interception by Bradley. Oh, boy. That's as good as it gets. The senior has a nice return, too. And how often do we see a guy get a long gain, intercept a pass one-handed, and then score a touchdown in a span of 3 highlights? It is the beauty of editing. Bradley from Dosh, 17 yards, and the home team is looking good. The big lead forced Turtle Mountain to pass, and that wasn't working against this secondary. Deep ball hauled in by Alex Schaefbauer to end the half. St. Mary's up 24-6 going into the third, feeling comfortable, or maybe not. They kept playing hard. Curl, following a wave of blockers, makes it 34-6. He finished with 133 and 2 on the ground. And don't look now, but St. Mary's is hitting its stride. Watch this run by Dosh. In the stat sheet, it goes down as a 13-yard run. I think he covered 50 yards easily. 3 touchdowns for Dosh. St. Mary's finishes the regular season with a 40-18 win, their 8th victory of the season. It's a group that has certainly transformed over the course of the season.
We've really settled into each other as a unit. Our line has really settled in and gotten their stuff figured out. So basically, we've just matured all around and really become comfortable with how we play.
I think that we're playing pretty well. We're kind of on a little bit of a roll, but I think we got good balance between our defense has been holding teams down well, and we've been able to score some points.
So guys, Shanley has locked up the #1 seed. St. Mary's is the 2. Central Cass is the 3. And Jamestown has locked up the 4. But the other spots are still open right now. Valley City and Devil's Lake in Turtle Mountain all still in play. We'll see what happens. Big matchups to finish off the regular season on Saturday, tomorrow. So that should be fun. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with Class A and 9-man playoff previews. Yes, we're talking playoffs next on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, Farmers Union Insurance Agency, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Tomorrow will be a playoff frenzy across the state of North Dakota with 32 teams trying to advance to the quarterfinal round, whether it be in the Class A playoffs or the 9-man ranks. One team that's hoping to punch that ticket is the Kindred Vikings. 2 years ago, the Vikings were the state runner-up in Class 2A. Then they dropped down to Class A and struggled a bit in 2017, finishing 4-5 overall. Tomorrow they'll host their first playoff game in over 20 years when they take on rugby. I sat down with Vikings senior quarterback Michael Hall earlier this week and began our conversation surrounding the bounce-back year for the boys in blue.
I think it was very humbling for us. We had that great leadership my sophomore year that took us all the way to the Dakota Bowl. And last year we kind of felt like, we had to prove people wrong, and I think it helped us, at least me as a senior, grow for this year.
If I have this right, you have 1,100 yards passing, 700 yards rushing, 20 touchdowns, 27 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble. You have to be pretty motivated to do all that. What's kind of behind your motivation?
Well, I think I just look at all the great players we've had before. People like Ethan Lingen and Brock Benson. They kind of paved the way for us, and it was fun looking up to them when I was younger, and it's like, that's a guy you want to be like.
Okay, I have a highlight of yours on my phone. I want you to watch it.
Yep.
And kind of take me through what's happening here.
Sure.
You remember this play?
I do.
What happens?
Well, he makes a cut inside there, and I think he really just didn't see me coming, and that was the opportunity for me to run through and have a clean hit.
That was Oscar Benson, one of the best running backs in the state, and you broke his face mask.
Yeah, it was kind of surreal when I saw it. I was like, did I really just do that? But it felt good afterwards.
Was it painful afterwards?
I don't think it was painful. I was a little dazed for a second there, but nothing that would take me out of the game or anything like that.
You're a good student too. Last May, you were named the NDHSAA and Farmers Union Insurance Distinguished Student and received a $2,000 scholarship. Wow! Reading from the press release, the individual chosen for this strengthens the program for participants, the school, and the community. What does that award mean to you?
It's It's an honor. It really is. I think it speaks to the teachers we have here and to the coaches we have that they're focused on making us better people, not just better players in our sport, and they really just want to strengthen us all around.
Getting back to football, Saturday, matchup against rugby, big one for you guys. You get to host a playoff game. What is the key to getting off to a good start and winning that game and moving on to the quarterfinals?
I think the biggest thing is we're playing really good football right now, but we can't take a step back. You know, you can't get complacent. You have to keep building off the momentum that you have from the end of the regular season.
For people that haven't watched you guys all year, how would you characterize the style of this Kindred team?
We're a physical football team on defense, and we fly around.
Well, yeah, physical. You just smashed a face mask in, right?
Yeah, we love to hit.
We love to hit. Love the honesty from Michael Hall. He's a well-spoken young man. So the Vikings get rugby tomorrow. The Panthers are in the playoffs for the first time since 2014. Here's the rest of the top half of the bracket. I think top seed Langdon Edmore Munich will get past EEK. The Thunder have that playoff toughness, though, so you can't count them out ever in the postseason. I'm interested to see Bowman County in the playoffs. Let's see if the Bulldogs are for real. Quarterback Jacob Swihovec and running back Adam Powell have played well. They get the new kids on the block. Nedros, the Cardinals, making their playoff debut. Velva will try to let out some frustration when the Aggies play Hazen. Of course, Velva losing in overtime to Bishop Ryan for the region title last week. Harvey Wells County gets the lucky draw of playing defending state champ Hillsborough Central Valley. We heard from the Burros on Midco Sports tonight. They're embracing the bullseye on their back. Oscar Benson, who we just saw a few moments ago, and company have won 20 straight games since moving down to Class A. Unbelievable. Milner, North Sargent, and Carrington could get interesting. A pair of UND commits will be on the field. Adam Newstall, the big lineman for the Bulldogs, and Caden Wolski, the All-State linebacker for the Cardinals. Will Beulah be the first team to stop our most recent game ball winner, Ben Bowl? The Bishop Ryan quarterback has his team undefeated, and I like a well-rested Trinity team against a lax Burlington. We go to 9-man now, and New Salem Glen Ellen, of course, my favorite at the start of the year. The Holsteins have done nothing to prove me wrong. Perfect regular season. Let's take a look at the eastern half of the bracket. Napoleon Gackle-Streeter has to be fired up for this one. The Imperials, as I think we profiled a couple weeks ago, Jamison Fettig and Nathan Weigel, the weapons that they have, well, they were stunned last year in the playoffs, or almost stunned Cavalier last year in the playoffs, but quarterback Jamison Fettig was injured, and their Tornadoes rallied to win. Fettig is back. The Imperials are undefeated again. We'll see how they stack up against Jaden Laxdal in Cavalier. Oaks and Richland should be a dandy. We'll be down in Colfax for that one. Thompson is ranked #1 all year. You see the Tommies on the bottom. They'll host Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion. Caden Schwabe will probably get his 4 touchdowns once again. How about New Rockford Cheyenne? The Rockets have just been doing their thing. They have a perfect record, have held opponents to a state best 10.5 points per game, and they have 2 studs between quarterback Teddy Almaraz and playmaker Bull Belquist. The head coach says this is a veteran group that demands perfection.
They want to play a clean game. You know, they get upset when they drop a ball. They get upset when they don't make an interception. They get upset when they miss a tackle. So just, you know, trying to be perfect.
And offense just comes naturally for us. We've had that goal to reach the state championship, and that's in our head every game. And before every game, that's all we're thinking about is getting the next W every game.
They like to use Belquist everywhere on the field. Look out for the Rockets. Out west, as I mentioned, the team to beat is New Salem Glen Ellen. Evan Henke and Braden Zuroff have been a fixture on Varsity Sports Live for a couple of years now. We'll see if star running back Colby Nelson can keep Surrey in it against the Holsteins. Last year's runner-up, Shiloh Christian, gets a rematch of the season opener with Mulhall Lansford Sherwood. The Skyhawks won that game 36-34. We'll see what they do at quarterback. Jaden Mitchell played more tight end and fullback last week. We'll see if they move him back under center. St. John and that bruising offensive line will go to work against Richardson TH. They have 2 great rushers squaring off in that bottom game with Towner GU's Shaden Luna going against Ray Powers Lake junior phenom Brock Vial. So guys, that's a rundown of tomorrow's action. I'm excited to see what happens. We can make all the predictions that we want, but it doesn't matter because on any given day, anyone can beat anyone. You guys saw that in South Dakota last night. Isn't that right?
You should make more predictions because people love that. They love to prove you right or wrong. You can call them all, Jody. That's all right.
We'll have a blog next week with predictions of the quarterfinal round, so that'll be exciting.
All right. All right, it's going to be a great final 3 weeks of the season in North and South Dakota. When we come back, we'll get to the South Dakota highlights, and the big schools finished up their regular season, and there's not some controversy, but it worked out a little strange with the seed points in 11 AAA. South Dakota stuff coming up next on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, Farmers Union Insurance Agency, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
All right, welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Are you excited or what?
I really am. You know, not everything went like I thought it would, but there were some things that actually went the way I thought they might.
You want to talk about seed points now or later?
We're going to save that for after these AAA highlights.
Because it did get a little weird in 11 AAA. It came out the way
I got a record,
the numbers say it came out. But.
Exactly. I got a record number of notifications, though, on Twitter asking me how this works. So we're going to have a little class time in about 5 minutes and talk about that.
Should be fascinating. All right, let's get to the highlights in the final games of the regular season in 11 3A to start with in South Dakota. And O'Gorman, unbeaten, trying to finish up unbeaten at Brandon Valley. It was ominous out there in Brandon, and right away, Brandon Valley turnover. Isaiah Campbell with an interception early for the Lynx defense.
He set the tone right away and drove right down the field. And they got a touchdown out of their boy, Jesse Steffel.
They've got another good running back at Brandon Valley, Jesse Steffel.
Good running backs, Tate Johnson and Jesse Steffel, both can get it done.
Steffel makes it 7-0, and then in the second quarter here, look at that pass by Thomas Skolton to Carter Olthoff, and Olthoff had a huge game.
I was really curious how they'd play Olthoff, and they played him one-on-one a lot of the night, and they paid for it. Here's a fourth down situation. Again, defensively, Brandon Valley came up big in huge situations, stopped him on 4th and goal, and then not only did they stop him, they took the ball and went down the field quickly.
Yeah, watch this run.
This is so good.
That was Olthoff again off the little pass from Skolton. So it's 21-0. Brandon Valley is in the lead after they get that stop. Olthoff with a couple of touchdowns already. It's 21-0, and we go to the third quarter. And O'Gorman's first points of the night come on a safety, Evan Whittree with the tackle there.
And that followed a 4th and short again where O'Gorman was stopped, but then they were able to turn the tables, get a safety. But again, every time O'Gorman had a little bit of momentum, turned right around to Brandon Valley.
Skolton to Olthoff again. And Thomas Skolton had 4 touchdown passes on the night. One more here to Cole Siegfried, who's another good wide receiver for Brandon Valley. And the Lynx hand it to O'Gorman. 40-15 is the final. So O'Gorman 8-1, and Brandon Valley is 7-2 now going into the playoffs.
People ask me, did the Knights play their backups? I mean, what happened in this game? No, the Knights played everybody, but I haven't seen anybody shut down Zach Norton the way that Brandon Valley did. I guarantee you the Poppingas are going to come up with a different strategy if they have to see them again in a couple weeks, which they might, as we'll look at the bracket later. But I also came away with really new impression of Carter Olthoff and what he can do. But after the game, we caught up with Chad Garrow, the quarterback, and Mr. Olthoff.
And I think we just did what we needed to do with the plays that we executed well.
I kind of like it being underrated. I mean, no one thinks of you that you can win it, and then when you go out and win these games, I mean, like the coach has said in the huddle, it's just the peak. It's not the peak. We're still rising. We still got things to do, things to work on, and things that we need to get better to become that state title contender.
I hope we get the respect we deserve after this one. I mean, we're a really good football team, and I think we showed it tonight for sure.
They were damn good, actually. And yeah, it's hard to call them an underdog, but they were in this game, I guess.
Well, they were, because O'Gorman hadn't even been in a close game all season long, have just mowed through the top 5 teams that have been on their schedule. But a little different look from Brandon Valley tonight. They were super charged up for this one, by the way, and we'll see if they can keep it going.
All right, let's go to Watertown. Roosevelt and Watertown wrapping it up. And the Riders already up 8-0 in this one, Jandy. Big quarterback Aaron Kusler, 6'2", junior there, 15-0 Riders in the lead.
Yeah, they'll put him in red zone situations. He was able to run it in, and this one was interesting.
It was not pretty, but it works. That is Brandon Smith to Blake Holden. Blake Holden is 6'3", 260 pounds.
Now you know what it's like to get hit.
Yeah, took his own guy out there. Everybody was okay. And then Smith to Holden going for the touchdown. It's picked off by Devlin McManus. And he's had a lot of interceptions. I don't know how many, but a ton of interceptions.
He's a kicker. He's offensively, defensively very good. He's been a little banged up, but came up big there.
Big play there. Arrow defense gets Watertown on the board, though. Matthew Glines has had a great season. He stripped it away. Mitch Lloyd picks it up and scores. So it's 15-7. Riders still in the lead.
And you started to feel like maybe it's slipping away for the third week in a row. The Riders get a big lead, but then they finally put the hammer down.
The Jaden Bourne ultimatum there. Riders go up 22-6, or 22-8, excuse me, after that score there, and then turn it around the fourth quarter. Brady Dannenbring, the other quarterback for Roosevelt, comes in, goes to Jacob Betancourt for the score. And the Riders got up early, hang on. They win at 29-15. So Roosevelt goes to 7-2, and this was apparently a big win, as we're going to find out.
Well, you know what? The last couple of weeks they've gotten up big and haven't been able to hold on, so it was huge for them to hold on. After the game, Kim Nelson caught up with our reporter.
I think we wore them out a little bit at the end and were able to run the ball and run some clock. So if we can continue to do that, I think we're going to be a tough out. We got to stay healthy. We still got a couple guys that are limping around. We got to get them healthy, and hopefully over the weekend they can take it easy and come back for us next week. And new season, whole new season. So we're excited about that, and we're going to go get ready for it.
You want to be a tough out, right? And Roosevelt's not going to be one of the favorites going into the playoffs, even though they're going to be the top seed. But
they're the top seed. But
can you be an underdog
Kim
as the
Nelson,
top seed?
What I was most interested in is that comment, new season. I think he's preaching that to his kids, that these last 3 weeks are not the way they want to go into the playoffs. It's a new season, time to start over.
Riders had that loss at Rapid City Central. They've kind of, as you said,
played close with Pierre.
Up until this game.
Almost, let it get close here for a little bit and then pulled away against Watertown.
All right, Roosevelt gets to 7-2, though, after that win over Watertown. We'll take a look at the playoff bracket coming up in a little bit. But Washington and Lincoln finishing up the regular season at Howard Wood Field, and Washington just dominated this game. Barely any time off the clock. Jaden Johansson goes to Gabe Pearson.
Jaden Johansson's best game of the year. He just continues to get better. He threw his receivers open a couple times, and Gabe Pearson makes another nice catch. 2 touchdowns for him on the night.
Yeah, they get the first 2 there. 14-0. Warriors out to the lead early, and then Tupac Capella making it look easy going around the right end.
Now he has the most touchdowns overall, running and receiving. So now he's got that touchdown record as well at the 11-man level.
All right, is the Philly special? Do we have any other name for this? They snap it to Tupac, to Tyus Hansen, and then that's the quarterback, Johansson, with the receiving touchdown.
Yeah, it looked pretty close to the Philly special. We'll give it to him.
All right, big lead already for Washington. Tupac, they just could not tackle him. He was shifty, making a lot of guys miss all night, had all the moves working. And then Washington keeps pouring it on here. Still in the first half. Johansson will avoid the rush here. Rolling, comes back to a sliding Jacob Smith for a touchdown. Made it 32-0.
I mean, trust me, Washington loved seeing Jaden Johansson throw the ball like this.
Watch the moves here. There's Capella. That's big Jared DeBoer out there blocking in front, and then Capella making about 8 guys miss.
Oh, man.
And it was 38-0 Washington with that huge lead in the first half of this game. Lincoln got on the board late in the first half. Sophomore quarterback Tommy Thompson for a touchdown here. But they got overwhelmed by Washington in this one. One more time here to Tupac on a little swing from about 15 yards out. Just so many good moves side to side. He's got that jump move going side to side. And Washington wins 45-7.
That's the one thing Washington has that nobody else in this class has. A Tupac Capella, a guy who can just explode and make plays like he did. Great effort by these Warriors, and look at them. They've come on lately, up to 7-2 now on the season.
All right, here's Chad Statham after this win for Washington.
He's getting healthy. You gotta remember, he was sick the first few games. He had appendicitis, and then he missed a game, and now him and Pac had shoulder surgery, and those two are getting really healthy, and our O-line's starting to really play well. Our defense played outstanding tonight, I thought. And so I really like how we're going, what direction we're going right now, and hopefully we can continue that here this next week.
All right, we talk about running backs. We saw Jesse Steffel and those guys in the Brandon Valley. You got Jaden Bourne, who's kind of a straight-ahead guy at Roosevelt.
If he's healthy.
Tupac's kind of in. He is in that class by himself.
He is in that class by himself. Jeremy Weedman, another guy we got to talk about in
City Central.
Yep.
Washington, though, 2 losses. They did get beat twice this year.
Well, I mean, coming into the season, Chad Statham said, look at the first 4 games on our schedule. They are going to be very tough with so many new players. He was right. They struggled through those first 4 games. Even though they beat Mitchell in that 4th game, they really turned it around at that point.
All right, Washington rolling in at 7-2 to the playoffs with that win over Lincoln on Thursday night. Here's Rapid City Stevens and Rapid City Central to finish up the regular season. And Stevens coming into this game 1-7. Cobblers on the doorstep here. Kai Meisman is picked off there by Branson Keel. And then at the other end, this is a play that is broken, but they fix it, Jandy. Colton Hartford to Colton Doney. And the Raiders get out to a 7-0 lead. And then Meisman, the full spin, coming back the other way, hits Wyatt Youngclass, who's been great all season for Rapid City.
A lot of athletes on this Rapid City Central team, and it's not just running out of that double wing. They're throwing the football and doing it very effectively.
Stevens got a field goal to take the lead, and then Central trying to go in again. Aaron Iverson with the fumble. The Raiders recover it, and Stevens has a lead at halftime, 10-7. But in the third here, Central back on top. And they go back and forth. Iverson hugging the ball this time. Does not give it up. Touchdown to put Central back in the lead, 14-10. Stevens comes back with a big play. Hartford to Keel, and he will take it the rest of the way.
Yeah, they've got playmakers on this team. Michael Norman, Branson Keel. They've got guys who can do it. They just couldn't put it together this season.
Stevens goes back in the lead there, Jandy. Then Central goes back in front. Good throw from Meisman to Iverson. It's 21-17. Central in the lead going to the 4th quarter. And then Jetson Olsen.
Yeah.
With the touchdown for the Cobblers.
Yeah, he used to be more of a skill guy, playing line more often, so he knows what he's doing up there.
Stevens not done, though. Hartford rolling and guns it to Michael Norman. There's another playmaker for the Raiders. 2-point conversion was good, so it's 28-25 Central with 5 minutes left.
And icing.
And then the Cobblers put it away. Here's your guy, Jeremy Weedman.
Every week this guy makes a 30-plus yard touchdown. He is so explosive. And he got it done to seal this game, and a big season for this Central team.
Goes 40 yards, Weedman on that one, 35-25 the final. So Rapid City Central is 5-4 after this win.
And yeah, we talked to their coach, Eric Iverson, and Mr. Weedman right after the game.
You know, we started off slow, but kind of with the inexperience that we had, we kind of figured we probably would. And as the season went on, we started putting the pieces together a little more and more. And so I think we're starting to come together a little bit, you know, meeting our expectations, and hopefully we're going to keep moving on.
I mean, started slow, but it's not how. It doesn't define how we finished. Our guys came out, wanted to play in the second half, and the scoreboard showed it.
And Rapid City Central, they are 4-5. My bad, they are 4-5, but they're in the playoffs. Stevens, by the way, finishes 1-8. They are the one team in 11-3A that is not going to be in the playoffs. Aberdeen Central and Stevens both finish 1-8. Aberdeen Central is in because of the PowerPoints.
They are because of the PowerPoints. Let's talk about Central just really quickly here, because this is a team that didn't see, you know, hovering right around that 500 mark, beating a team like Roosevelt, taking out their crosstown rivals, you know, giving a scare to other teams along the way with just a tougher schedule. They're really coming together since Meisman has been their quarterback.
All right, Central is 4-5, and I think we're going to take a look at the bracket here. This will be the first round of the playoffs in 11-3A. Roosevelt is the #1 seed, Jandy, and you're going to explain that, right?
We are going to, that's the big question, is we have been talking about how did Roosevelt jump to the #1 seed. They were at #2 coming into the night, but them playing against Watertown and then Brandon Valley playing against O'Gorman, it just didn't, I didn't do the actual calculations, and I really wish I would have.
But it's not by your final record.
Not
Roosevelt
by your
is 7-2. O'Gorman is 8-1 after that loss to Brandon Valley, but
here's how
Roosevelt's the one.
Yeah, this is how the seed point system actually works. So if you play a team that wins 3 or 4 out of their 4 games or better, and you beat them, you get 50 points, you lose, you get 39, and you see how that scales down as you play lesser teams. Now, it doesn't matter what class you play. If you play an 11 AA team that has that record, it doesn't matter. So what it really came down to, and as we look at comparing these two teams' schedules, they had a lot of common opponents. And the seed points favor Roosevelt by 1 point overall, even though they have those 2 big L's in there. And if we look at the next graphic here, you can see these games highlighted were the ones that mattered, the ones against the AA teams. Roosevelt played against Yankton, Pierre, and Watertown with 5, 7, and 6 wins, whereas O'Gorman, no fault of their own, played against Central with just 1 win, Huron with just 4 wins, and Harrisburg with 5 wins. So 5 things had to go their way last night, They had to win. O'Gorman had to lose. They also needed Huron to lose their game against Brookings, and they did. They needed Pierre to beat Aberdeen Central because that weighted both teams' schedules. And then finally, they needed the Harrisburg-Yankton game to go their way, and Harrisburg was winning through most of this game. We'll get to these highlights in a second. But Yankton came back and won, and that ended up clinching it for Roosevelt. Crazy.
Yes. They both played they played the same schedule, so to speak. They both played the same 6 teams, and then those other 3 games were one against a same level opponent,
except for Aberdeen,
and then 2 other 11 AA teams. And it came down to 1 seed point. Roosevelt had 398 total seed points. O'Gorman had 397. 1 point apart, and then you divide that by 9 games, and that's how you get it.
And people ask me, they played each other, and Roosevelt got shut out by O'Gorman. O'Gorman only had 1 loss. Roosevelt had 2. It doesn't make sense. But the strength of schedule, they go by the numbers, and they have to go by these numbers to make it more fair overall.
O'Gorman was the only team that finished 8-1. Roosevelt, Brandon Valley, Washington, all 7-2. But O'Gorman will be the 2 seed.
And in the end, being a top 2 seed, we'll get you a home game in the semis, which is really what they want. It just matters who they play in that second round.
And there's some thought that it's predetermined that who's going to be in this I don't see it that way. This is going to be good.
We got a lot of great coaching staffs, a lot of great players.
All right, there we go in 11-3A, and those playoffs get started next week. Let's go to 11AA, Jandy. And talking about Yankton and Harrisburg, you got to check the wind, man, before you do that before the game. Anyway, first quarter here, and Yankton, a fake punt inside their own 20-yard line. It didn't turn out well. Michael Drotzman taken down there. And Harrisburg takes advantage. They get some good blocking here. And Jai Rowert with the touchdown, and the Tigers in the lead.
He's been a receiver, but they're using him a little bit more often as a running back now, and I think that really has helped this offense.
Second quarter here, Harrisburg moving again. Good grab there by Sam Christensen. And he takes that down to the 2-yard line. And look at this sneak. This is sneaky.
Sneaky. Jack Tigan has been a savior for this team, the way he has matured back from the early part of the season until now.
So it's 14-0 Harrisburg, but Yankton gets going. Ethan Wishon to Drotzman there to cut the lead in half. It's 14-7. And then late in the first half here, Tigan through the hands of his guy. It's picked off there by Corbin Soler. We've had a lot of Corbin Soler interception highlights this season. So Yankton gets the ball back, and the hardest thing to defend, Jandy, is the quarterback taking off like this. Wishon in for the touchdown. It's 14-14 at halftime.
Ethan Wishon has surpassed most people's expectations this year. Has done a great job.
Special teams for the Bucks. That is a freshman, Owen Warren, for Yankton. Blocks it and takes it in for the touchdown, and Yankton goes in the lead, 21-14. Harrisburg right back at him, though, here. Tough run by Tigan. He gets smashed right at the goal line, but he gets in. Harrisburg missed the extra point, though, so Yankton in the lead, 21-20 going to the fourth quarter. And Yankton here on 4th down. Wishon keeping his eyes up, gets it to Cade Koletsky. Yankton takes the lead 28-20. Harrisburg did score again, but they could not get the 2-point conversion, and Yankton pulls it out 28-26.
And this, we talk about how this affected 11 AAA, but it affected 11 AA. Both teams were vying for that 2 seed, and we'll see how that plays out when we look at the brackets later. But after the game, we had some posts, right?
Exactly.
Just the resiliency of our kids. We got a tough team. They're mentally tough. It's maybe surprising to everybody around the state, but it's not surprising to us. They do a heck of a job for us. They got a lot of guts, and they just keep swinging. They just did a great job.
Well, that was huge. Everybody stepped up. I mean, we had a freshman block a punt, take it to the house. How many times does that happen in South Dakota football? And then we had receivers make plays, DBs, linebackers, linemen, D-linemen, everybody. Literally everybody made a play today, and that was the difference there.
All right, let's take a look at the bracket here in the first round of the 11 AA playoffs. Jandy, Pierre at 7-2. They've got 2 more wins than anybody else in the class, so they are the clear #1 seed. But you take a look there, Yankton and Harrisburg could end up meeting again in the next round.
In Yankton this time, so that'll be huge. And then Brookings, by the way, has quietly been getting a few wins. They get a home game against Mitchell, whose quarterback, Keel Nelson, looks like he's going to be out for a while with that arm injury we saw on Midco Sports Network last week. So it's going to be a little tougher road for Mitchell, but this will be an interesting 11 AA playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah, home teams on the bottom there for the first round. Pierre and Brookings at home on the top of the bracket. Yankton and Harrisburg at home against Huron in the first round of the 11 AA playoffs. In 11B, Jason.
11A.
11A, excuse me. T area at 7-1 going to Dakota Valley. Dakota Valley was 8-0 going into this game, and they get out to the lead early. Sam Chesterman touchdown. Panthers in the lead, but T, watch this play. Carter Slykehouse, step back jump shot to Cade Clayberg for the evening touchdown there. Nate Rice rolling and picked off. That is Joe Walnoffer for the Titans. Big turnover there, and it turns into a score for the Titans.
Yeah, this was close early. T had control, it felt like, but the score was still very close.
Slykehouse for the score there, so T back in the lead 14-7. But then Dakota Valley right before the half, they go with Rice to Jake Lickness, who does the rest, and it's tied up at halftime.
You know, they don't pass as much as a lot of other teams, but they showed they can pass. Nate Rice, good dual threat quarterback.
All right, as you said, T just kind of took over on the ground in the second half of this game. They get the go-ahead touchdown there, and then back to Carter Slykehouse, cutting that back inside. What is on their helmets, by the way? What is that?
Yeah, that's the new shield for the Titans.
Oh, okay. So anyway, Slykehouse with a couple of touchdowns. You see his numbers there. T takes over in the second half. First loss of the season for Dakota Valley. They're obviously in the playoffs, but they dropped this one 27-14. Here's Craig Clayberg.
I think both teams are going to be pretty sore tomorrow in the next few days. You know, we kind of got a short week here now again. We go Thursday, first round, so you know, it's tough. You know, you try to get some time in and stretch a little bit and see the trainer, but I think our kids are ready to go. I think their kids are ready to go. It's an exciting time of the year. So
we came in here expecting to win, and that's what happened. So we're ready for the playoffs.
All right, Jandy, 11A playoff picture looks like this with T area, the #1 seed. A lot of the usual suspects. Madison's #2. Del Rapids gets in there. West Central is in there as the 5. And St. Thomas More as the 6 this year. Dakota Valley with that loss drops down to the 3 seed.
Exactly. The winner of that game, Dakota Valley T, would have gotten that #1 spot no matter what, and the loser automatically went down to that 3 spot just the way the seed points worked out. So, I mean, you could make a little beef here too. Madison went head-to-head with T and beat them, and they both have just 1 loss. Yet T, because of the strength of schedule, gets that #1 spot. And speaking of T, Carter Slykehouse is really starting to play some football, folks. He is starting to eat up the clock. He is getting into his groove. That really helps this T area team when they can just grind the clock out like that.
And again, 11A, half the teams don't get in. Lennox didn't get in this year. Millbank didn't get in. Belfouche was 5-4.
Right on the outside.
They don't get in. Hot Springs gets in at 6-3. And 11A, there you go, with the playoffs getting started next week. The playoffs did get started already for 11B, and the 9-man schools in South Dakota. We'll look at the quarterfinal matchups and a couple more highlights when we come back on Varsity Sports Live. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live, and let's get to the first round of the playoffs in South Dakota. 11B and the 9-man, they all have their first round of playoffs before the rest of the school.
And there was one particularly big game in 11B, featured 2 6-2 teams. The Watchdogs and the Sioux Falls Christian Chargers squaring up in Beersford.
All right, Beersford on his first drive here. 4th down carry for Tyler Krapinski. And the Bulldogs, I like those helmets. They're up 7-0.
Tricky.
And they get it right back here. They did this a couple of times. The pooch kick. And Sioux Falls Christian was not really ready for it. Jack Antonson on it for the Dogs there. And then Krapinski again, sweeper on the left side. Great block here by Blake Peterson. They're the big #7. Right at the end with the final block. And it's 14-0, Beersford in the lead.
Yeah, that's an FCS block right there. Blake Peterson, offense and defensive lineman, getting it done, but Krapinski, a couple touchdowns early.
Sioux Falls Christian recovers, though. Parker Nelson got it going, and a touchdown here for the Chargers. So it's 14-6, Beersford in the lead at the end of the first quarter. Go to the second here, long 3rd down. 3rd and 18, Brad Christensen. Beautiful drop in there for Bo Van Gelder, nice catch. So Beersford's out to a 21-6 lead, Jandy.
They are feeling good in this one. And when you're down, you usually don't run the ball, but Sioux Falls Christian said, you know what, we're going to run the ball, and it worked.
Dawson Mulder with the touchdown there. It was 21-12 at halftime. Third quarter here, Beersford, Krapinski pass on the halfback pass. They're picked off, though, by Silas Hoffman. And then the Chargers turn that into points. Parker Nelson again. And
He's
the
getting
two-point conversion was good. It's 21-20.
Yeah, Parker Nelson is finally getting healthy, and that's making a huge difference because he wanted the ball, and they gave it to him.
Third touchdown of the night there for Nelson in the fourth quarter. They get the two-point conversion. Christian goes ahead 28-21. Beersford throwing into the wind here, trying to come back. Mitch Goodberry with the interception for Sioux Falls Christian, and they go on to win it 28-21.
You see that 62 rushes for Sioux Falls Christian. They owned the ground game against a good line. I mean, Beersford really has some big boys up front, so congrats to the Chargers up front. After the game, Jake Pettengill and Parker Nelson.
I don't want to take any credit away from them. They're very well coached. They got a great coaching staff. They have phenomenal athletes, one of the best group of athletes that we've seen. We also we played scared early on. We had to settle and get out there.
The first one was just we got to settle down, just get things under control, and then they did it a couple more times. And at halftime, we got a two-possession game, and we just had to stay positive, know that we just got to get a stop, put a few drives together, and we'll be
All right, Jandy, that was the closest game in the first round of these 11B playoffs, by the way.
Just one quick note. They said they ran about 2 plays in the final quarter and a half. They did not change it up a lot, and they got it done.
And a good season for Beersford, but they go down in the first round of the playoffs. So here's the quarterfinal round in 11B. And again, you reseed in 11B after that first round. So here's what it looks like going into the quarters with Canton, the #1 seed.
So the only upset of the last night was Mobridge Pollock beating Groton. I mean, it was a road upset. It wasn't much of one because they played within a point earlier this year, and it was very close again last night.
Yeah, 13-7, Mobridge Pollock.
Yeah, huge. But then a rematch winner, Sioux Falls Christian to look forward to. Canton looks really strong. Mount Vernon Plankinton's not full strength, but they get Lee Deadwood, I think a team that they can handle. Should be an interesting quarterfinal.
Ridgewater, Emory, Ethan, and Mount Vernon Plankinton both 8-1 could meet in the semis, and Canton is the unbeaten team in 11B at 9-0 going into the first round of the playoffs. All right, let's get to 9-man playoff football, Jandy, and this is the second round here coming up now. And again, you reseed after the first round in the 9-man game. Wolsey Wessington is 9-0. Arlington Lake Preston down there.
They were tied at seed points, so the tiebreaker went to Wolsey Wessington to get #1, which is a big deal.
Arlington Lake Preston 9-0, and then Garrettson as well, the 3 seeds. So the top 3 seeds here in the quarterfinal round are undefeated.
I'm going to give you an early prediction.
Yes.
I think Arlington Lake Preston's going to have trouble with the big boys from Kimball White Lake. That could be an interesting one. Gregory Bonham played a 7-6 game earlier this year. Yeah. That's going to be great. And Trey King and Lyndon Williams, Devontae Llewellyn, so many stars in that game. I mean, this is tremendous quarterfinal football.
You're right, Gregory Bonham. Gregory quietly in there as the 5 seed. They lost all those stars from about a year ago. And
great defense, though. Great defense. Shut out Baltic last night.
And props for Bonham.
Props to them, as always. Always loved them.
I'm trying to bait you. I'm sorry.
I love Tabor.
All right. In 9A, Jandy, you get Timberlake after they reseed. Timberlake at 9-0. Britton Heckler, the #2 seed, they're in the bottom of the bracket. They are 9-0 as well. And what do you think here of 9A?
You know, looking at this, Timberlake struggled against Phillip, and they're the 1 seed. They're going to have problems not only with New Underwood, but you know, in the semifinals, if they have to play a team like Canastota Freeman, that's going to be difficult. Warner and Howard, I both thought would win. Howard got that road win. That was important. Corsica Stickney had to come back in the second half to get into the quarterfinals, so props to them, but it's probably their ride over playing the Braves.
All right, and in 9B, Jason, let's take a look at the quarterfinal bracket here. After the reseeding, after round 1, Sully Buttes is 9-0, Colombe is 9-0, and Wall, the 3 seed sitting down there,
yeah, so from those
9-0 as well.
Yeah, excuse me. From those first round games, Kadoka area beating Harding County, a lot of people looked at that and saw that as an upset. I mean, it was definitely an upset. Just not used to seeing Harding County lose. Burke and Sunshine Bible was about the closest game of this round. Everybody else, it was home teams. Castlewood, by the way, their quarterback, Brandon Beneke, was banged up a little bit, and now they have to play Wall. They played each other in this exact same round last year in Wall, and it was an absolute blowout. Castlewood dominated. I think it might be a little closer this year. And then Colombe and Coleman Egan playing the defending champs, the 2 last champions of 9B over the last 2 years, have to go at it. in the quarters.
Yeah, you've been big on Cologne all year.
Yeah, they're getting stronger. You're either getting stronger right now or you're eliminated. These teams have to get better and better as the year goes on. That's why you can't look at prior meetings always.
All right, again, all of the South Dakota quarterfinal games are coming up on Thursday. All classes there. One change in the finals, by the way, this year, 3 games on Thursday, 3 games on Friday, and just the 1-11 AAA game on Saturday this year.
Oh, I can't wait.
When they get to the final. We'll see you next week on Varsity Sports Live.